This is one of those stories people argue about the moment it's mentioned. Some call it a myth, others say it was exaggerated, a few insist it never happened at all. And yet, everyone involved tells the same unsettling detail. There were witnesses, hundreds of them, and no cameras were allowed. In February 1972, inside a private arena in Los Angeles, the most famous fighter on the planet, Muhammad Ali, stood inside a boxing ring and issued a challenge that shocked everyone in the room. Not to another boxer, not to a contender, but to a man who didn't belong there at all. Bruce Lee. Ali didn't ask for a sparring match. He didn't ask for a demonstration. He looked at Bruce and said two words that would ignite decades of controversy. "Hit me." No defense. No movement. No second chance. What happened seconds later was never meant to be believed. Because if it's true, it doesn't just challenge boxing, it challenges everything we think we know about strength, power, and fighting itself. And that's exactly why this moment was buried, dismissed, and quietly turned into a rumor. But tonight, we're going back to that ring and to the 3 seconds that made history uncomfortable. Before we continue, if you love the stories of Bruce Lee and want to help keep his legacy alive, subscribe to this channel, like, and share. By early 1972, Muhammad Ali wasn't just a champion, he was a phenomenon. Inside the ring, his speed and reflexes embarrassed heavyweights who outweighed him. Outside it, his confidence filled every room he entered. Ali didn't just believe he was the greatest, he performed that belief everywhere he went. That confidence is what turned a casual comment into something dangerous. At private gatherings in Los Angeles, Ali often entertained Hollywood elites, athletes, and journalists. Someone eventually mentioned Bruce Lee, the martial artist Hollywood was quietly buzzing about. Stories of impossible speed, of punches no one could track, of a man who claimed traditional boxing didn't understand real combat. Ali laughed. Not cruelly, not angrily, confidently. He said if this kung fu magician was real, he should come prove it. Ali would stand still, no guard, no defense, one free strike. If martial arts worked, everyone would see it. If not, the myth would die instantly. To Ali, it sounded harmless, a showman's challenge, a bit of theater. He had taken punches from the hardest hitters alive and kept standing. What could a smaller man possibly do? But the words didn't stay in that room. They spread through gyms, dojos, and studios, through reporters hungry for spectacle. What began as confidence turned into expectation. And once expectations form around men like Ali, they become impossible to ignore. The challenge had been spoken aloud, and now it demanded an answer. When Bruce Lee first heard about Ali's challenge, he didn't react the way people expected. No anger, no public response, just silence. But inside, he understood the trap immediately. If he refused, the story would write itself. The boxer called him out, and the martial artist backed down. Another myth exposed, another Hollywood illusion shattered. Bruce's reputation, built carefully through years of discipline, would be reduced to a punchline. If he accepted and failed, it would be worse. This wasn't a real fight. It wasn't fair. Ali was larger, stronger, protected by rules that favored boxing. One missed strike, one miscalculation, and Bruce would be humiliated in front of witnesses who would never forget it. But Bruce also saw something else. Ali's challenge wasn't about violence, it was about belief. Ali believed power came from size, strength, and durability. Bruce believed something different, that precision, timing, and understanding the human body mattered more. That belief couldn't be defended with words. So Bruce accepted, but on his terms. One strike, no exchange, no spectacle. A demonstration, not a fight. He didn't need to dominate Ali, he didn't need to knock him out. He only needed to show something undeniable in a single moment. History doesn't need long explanations. Sometimes, 1 second is enough. The event was never advertised. No tickets, no cameras. But by the time February 12th arrived, nearly 300 people had found their way inside the downtown sports arena. They weren't casual fans. Boxing trainers who had worked with champions. Martial arts masters who had spent decades refining technique. Journalists who had covered every major fight of the era. Hollywood insiders who understood when something rare was about to happen. The ring sat under harsh white lights. Everything beyond it disappeared into shadow. The effect was unsettling, like a stage stripped of decoration, leaving only truth exposed. Ali entered first, relaxed and smiling, soaking in the energy. This was familiar territory. A ring had never betrayed him before. Bruce followed quietly. The contrast was striking. Ali moved like a performer, Bruce like a technician. No gestures, no bravado, just calm attention. People whispered. Some laughed nervously, others felt something was wrong. This wasn't entertainment, this was an experiment with no safety net. When Ali lowered his guard and invited the strike, the room went silent. Everyone understood what was at stake. If nothing happened, Bruce Lee's myth would collapse instantly. If something did happen, the boxing world would be forced to explain the unexplainable. And that tension, that unbearable pause, was exactly what made the next 3 seconds unforgettable. From the moment both men stood inside the ring, the imbalance was impossible to ignore. Muhammad Ali towered over Bruce, broader, heavier, built to absorb punishment from the hardest hitters in the world. His reach alone looked like a wall Bruce couldn't cross. Ali enjoyed it. He rolled his shoulders, bounced lightly on his feet, and let the crowd feel his comfort. This was his kingdom. Rings had rules, and those rules had always favored him. Even standing still, Ali believed his body could handle whatever came. Bruce Lee didn't react. Bruce Lee stood quietly, hands relaxed, posture neutral, no stance, no visible preparation. To some, it looked like hesitation. To others, it felt deliberate, like he was refusing to play the role everyone expected. The crowd whispered comparisons: height, weight, muscle, experience. Everything pointed in one direction. This wasn't courage, some thought, it was madness. Ali lowered his guard further, almost mocking the moment. He tapped his jaw, then spread his arms wide, exposing his torso. He wanted proof, not excuses. He wanted this to be undeniable. That's when discomfort set in. Because Bruce still hadn't moved. And the longer he waited, the more the room sensed that this wasn't about strength at all. It was about something harder to measure, something that didn't care how big Ali was. The trap wasn't for Bruce. It was for everyone watching. Ali's voice cut through the silence, loud and playful, meant for the crowd as much as Bruce. He repeated the invitation. One strike, no defense, no movement. His gloves dropped to his sides. The heavyweight champion of the world stood completely exposed. For a brief moment, people wondered if this had gone too far. This wasn't sparring, this wasn't entertainment. If Bruce failed, the humiliation would be permanent. If he succeeded, there would be consequences no one could predict. Bruce didn't answer. He simply breathed. Seconds stretched. The crowd shifted. Someone laughed nervously. Another whispered that Bruce looked frozen. Doubt crept in, thick and contagious. Maybe Ali was right. Maybe this was all just a story that couldn't survive reality. Then Bruce took a small step forward. Not aggressive, not rushed, just enough to close the distance. Now they were close enough for eye contact to matter. Something changed. Ali's grin faded slightly, his eyes narrowed. He was seeing something he hadn't expected, complete focus, no fear, no excitement, just calculation. The referee hesitated, sensing the tension spike. He confirmed the terms one last time. One strike. After that, it was over. Bruce nodded once. That nod didn't look like confidence. It looked like certainty. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. No movement, no feint, no warning. Those seconds felt longer than the entire build-up. People held their breath, unsure if Bruce was waiting for the perfect moment or realizing too late that there wasn't one. Then Bruce moved. There was no wind-up, no chamber, no visible preparation. His hand traveled from rest to impact in a blur that barely registered as motion. The sound wasn't dramatic. It was sharp, precise. Bruce didn't strike Ali's face. He struck lower directly into the solar plexus. The effect was immediate and shocking. Ali didn't stumble backward. He didn't fall theatrically. His body simply shut down. His knees buckled. His arms dropped. Air left his lungs, and for a terrifying moment, it didn't come back. The ring went silent. Ali sank to his knees, hands touching the canvas as his diaphragm spasmed. His mind was awake. His body was not responding. The strongest boxer alive couldn't breathe. Bruce stood still, exactly where he had been, hand already back at his side. 5 seconds passed. They felt impossible. And in that silence, everyone realized they had just witnessed something that didn't fit into any rulebook they knew. At first, no one moved. The silence wasn't applause or shock, it was confusion. Muhammad Ali, the man who had absorbed punches from giants, was on his knees, hands pressed against the canvas, struggling to pull air back into his lungs. This wasn't how knockdowns looked. There was no spin, no collapse, no dramatics. Just a sudden, frightening loss of control. Ali's chest rose sharply, then stalled. His diaphragm refused to cooperate. His nervous system had been overloaded in a way boxing never prepared him for. 5 seconds passed. Then another. The referee rushed forward, dropping beside him, asking if he could breathe. Ali nodded weakly. Air finally returned in jagged gasps. His body was rebooting, slowly and painfully. Around the ring, disbelief spread like electricity. Trainers stared at each other. Masters leaned forward. Journalists forgot to take notes. Bruce Lee hadn't moved. He stood exactly where he had been, calm, expression unchanged, as if he had simply completed a calculation. No celebration, no raised arms, no acknowledgement of the crowd. This wasn't dominance. It was demonstration. Ali lifted his head and looked up at Bruce with an expression no one had ever seen on him before. Not anger, not fear. Respect. And in that moment, everyone in the room understood something unsettling. This wasn't about strength. It was about vulnerability. As Ali's breathing steadied, he waved the referee away and pushed himself back to his feet. The arena remained silent. No one dared interrupt what was happening now. Ali looked at Bruce Lee and asked a question so quiet only those closest could hear it. "What did you do?" Bruce didn't lecture. He didn't boast. His answer was simple. He explained that power wasn't the goal, precision was. That the human body, no matter how strong, has points that don't respond to toughness. Nerves don't care about muscle. Timing doesn't respect titles. Ali listened, truly listened. This was the first time in his career that something had bypassed his reflexes entirely. He hadn't seen the strike. He hadn't felt it coming. His body had failed him before his mind could react. Bruce extended his hand. Ali took it. Not as a champion acknowledging a challenger, but as a fighter recognizing another fighter's truth. If you're still watching right now, this is exactly why these stories matter. They're not about who wins, they're about what gets revealed. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and tell me in the comments, do you think precision will always beat power? Ali raised Bruce's hand briefly, then released it. And just as quickly as he had entered the ring, Bruce Lee walked away. There were no cameras, no official statements, no footage to replay. And that was intentional. Within hours, arguments broke out. Some claimed Ali had allowed it, others said it was exaggerated, a few insisted it never happened at all. Without proof, the story became inconvenient, too disruptive for boxing, too unbelievable for the mainstream. Bruce didn't help clarify it. He gave no interviews, offered no demonstrations. He returned to training, teaching, refining. The moment had done its job. Ali, on the other hand, spoke carefully. In public, he laughed it off. In private, he told the truth. He admitted he never saw the strike, that he couldn't breathe, that it changed the way he thought about fighting. But legends don't survive when they threaten systems. So the story was labeled a rumor, a myth, a Hollywood exaggeration. Yet those who were there never forgot it, because they saw something impossible happen in 3 seconds. Not a knockout, not a victory, a revelation. That night didn't prove Bruce Lee was stronger than Muhammad Ali. It proved that combat had rules most people didn't understand yet. And once you understand that, you can never see fighting the same way again. That night in Los Angeles was never meant to become history. No tickets were sold, no cameras recorded it, and no official story was ever agreed upon. But for the people who stood around that ring, the truth was impossible to erase. What happened in those 3 seconds didn't crown a new champion. It didn't embarrass a legend, and it wasn't meant to prove that one style was superior to another. It revealed something far more uncomfortable. Bruce Lee didn't defeat Muhammad Ali with strength. He didn't rely on size, power, or spectacle. He exposed a principle that most combat sports weren't ready to confront yet, that understanding the human body matters more than overpowering it. Ali walked away that night, still the heavyweight champion of the world, but he also walked away with a new respect for something he couldn't see coming. Bruce walked away without trophies, headlines, or proof, but with confirmation that his philosophy was real. That is why this story lives in the shadows. Because it challenges comforting narratives. because it doesn't fit neatly into boxing or martial arts history. And because once you accept it, you're forced to admit that precision, timing, and awareness can change everything in an instant. 3 seconds were enough to shake certainty. And sometimes, that's more powerful than any knockout. If this story made you question what real power actually looks like, subscribe to Bruce Lee Secret Stories. Like the video and comment below. Do you think technique will always beat strength, or was this a once-in-a-lifetime moment? More hidden stories are coming, and they're even harder to explain.